As they traveled north, passing through town after town, their numbers grew. As a Catholic, Chavez understood the power of symbols to instill a deep personal commitment to the movement and attract public attention. They flew the Union Eagle, a symbol of Mexican pride, and the Virgin of Guadalupe, the Virgin Mary as a brown-skinned Mexican Indian, signified for many the righteousness of what was now being called La Causa, the cause. After 25 days, their numbers had swelled from a few dozen to an army of thousands. On Easter Sunday, 1966, the state capitol was finally in sight.
When we got to Sacramento, there were 10,000 people marching across the Sacramento River with us over the bridge. And it was people power. This was a demonstration of democracy.
You cannot speak ignorance to our problems because we are here, and we are not alone.
With public sympathy mounting and the spring growing season upon them, growers finally agreed to meet with union representatives.
Farmers of the state of California.
Dolores Huerta became the lead negotiator, and it was unprecedented because here was a Mexican-American woman negotiating with the growers and taking them on.
She's an excellent negotiator. She can break things down and can also stand her ground at an intellectual level and argue points, with lawyers.
They hated her. They called her the Dragon Lady. They wished they were negotiating more with Caesar than with Dolores.
It would take years of negotiations and a national boycott for Huerta and Chavez to secure higher wages, safer working conditions, and an end to child labor. But the march to Sacramento was a turning point. It led to the first farm worker contracts in American history. And for Mexican Americans, it was only the beginning. The rise of Cesar Chavez as a national figure began a fundamental shift in Mexican American identity. Before Chavez, most Mexican American leaders came from upper-class families and tended to be light-skinned, European-looking, traits that were prized by many in the Latino community.
Our elders, when there was a new baby, and they say, ay, qué bonito, mira, qué chulo, mira, qué ojos azules, qué güerito. And then we'd hear, ah, pobrecito, mira, qué indio salió. So, they say, look at that pretty baby, it's got blue eyes, it's so white, it's so pretty. And then the other baby, another cousin in the family, too bad, man, he came out dark, he looks like an Indian. There was a self-hate that was embedded in that.
But after Cesar Chavez, some of those prejudices began to erode.
He had become pretty much a national icon. And we loved him because he dressed the part like we did. No suit and tie, no brill cream, no aftershave, puro indio, soft-spoken, khaki pants and a flannel shirt. Mixed blood. This is who we are. We are America.
But in mid-1960s Los Angeles, the largest Latino community in the United States seemed destined to remain in society's underclass. 130,000 Mexican Americans were attending LA public schools, but their graduation rate was one of the lowest in the country. It had been that way for generations. At Belmont High, Sal Castro, an East LA native, had landed a job teaching social studies. After only a few weeks, he noticed something about the student body that concerned him and approached the principal.
I said, Mrs. Lord, I still remember her name. I said, Mrs. Lord, You know, there's a lot of Mexican kids here. They're not in student council. They're not participating in some of the academic programs. What's going on here? She says, you know what? You know, the kids are participating. I says, no, man, that's not true. You know, I'm concerned about this, Mr. Castro. She says, let me check. So then she calls me back. And she says, Mr. Castro, look, Mexicans have a very charming passivity. You wouldn't want to take that away from them, do you?
Castro was disheartened but hardly surprised.